and welcome back to another episode of the Jake Williams Show right here on loudandopinionated.com or wherever you get your podcast services. It is going to be an interesting episode today. As I'm recording this is Tuesday, March 26, 2019. As I'm recording this, the Jussie Smollett case took an interesting turn, a plot twist, if you will. The charges have been dropped for Jussie Smollett, and if you're unfamiliar with him, congratulations. You've been living under a rock, and you don't have to worry about the things that I worry about every day. But his case has been dropped, and it's an interesting decision. I'm baffled by what's happening because of all the evidence saying that what had happened to him is not real. And I will get to that in a second. But first, I want to talk about all the other shows on the Loud and Opinionated network. I love these shows. And I love the difference of all the shows on Loud and Opinionated. You have this where it's just me rambling at you for 30 to 40 minutes about whatever's going on in my life or whatever's happening in the news that I want to talk about. Then you've got Loud Sports. Now, that is hosted by myself, Paul Rubidoux, and Brandon Plecker, and I think Paul does an amazing job hosting that show, and just all the research that he puts into it. It's insane, the level of commitment he has to that show, and I'm very proud of it, and I want you guys to check that out. And then I have the Underachievers that I co-host with John Sparks and Chance Oliver. That is another show that we put a lot of time and effort into. And it's just us talking about games, having a great time. We also have the side show on that Party Chat, where it's just us playing video games and talking about everything that we haven't. Rarely ever about the game. It is mostly talking about all the stupid stuff that we do in our lives and what's going on with our lives. Those two shows are so, I think, maybe even better than this one. I love those shows, and you're already on loudopinionated.com. If you are, check them out. If not, podcast services, wherever you get them, they are there. So enough of that plug. Back to Jussie Smollett. So if you're not familiar, back in January, he said he was assaulted in the early morning in Chicago by two MAGA hat-wearing Trump supporters that beat him and put a noose around him and threw bleach on him and called him the N-word and gay slurs and you name it. Then the plot started to thicken, and the story progresses, and we find out that it was staged by Smollett. He paid them for, the items used for attack. He had sent fake letters to himself, all this stuff. It just, again, if you haven't seen it or heard about it, I'm amazed. The whole thing is fake. It was all made up by Jussie Smollett. He said it was because he was upset on the injustices that are happening to not only black people but gay people, and all this stuff. It was a political move, and it bothers me on how stupid it was. Now, I understand that as a white man, as a straight white man, I don't understand the struggles of a gay African American. I understand that. And I do believe that there are still issues in our society with the LGBTQ community and, with the African Americans and all the stuff with Kaepernick and Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. It's all complex, and there's a lot to it, and I'm not going to completely dive into that because this honestly was not something I was going to talk about. This is something that just happened, and I thought it was a good lead-in to the other thing I want to talk about, and ultimately the main topic of the show. At the end of the day, when I look at the news of this, and keep in mind I'm recording this on Tuesday, when this goes up on Friday, more things might come out about this case. But from what I know in the past, I think this is overall an embarrassment on very, very, very big levels. It's an embarrassment to Chicago PD. It's an embarrassment to the Chicago justice system, which isn't a surprise. I've known for years how corrupt Chicago is. Everybody knows. But it's bad for them, and it looks horrible for Jussie Smollett, even though he gets off pretty much scot-free. Well, not necessarily scot-free. I think the court of public opinion probably isn't on his side on this one. But it's definitely an embarrassment to him. And I don't want to sound real mean here, but I'm going to, because what he did is despicable. It is completely unforgivable. He not only has hurt, African Americans that deal with this, but he also has hurt gay people that actually deal with this. And it's similar to when when a woman lies about being raped, the impact it has on the Me Too movement. Where I think those scenarios are not good. It completely hurts the people that are truly affected by this. I understand what he's going for, but when you lie about it and you make it up, what are you doing? It's crazy. And the fact that he gets to walk away for the crimes that he did are infuriating. We've got to punish liars. We don't punish people that lie enough, and we've got to get better at that. I think it's all around an embarrassment, and that's really all I want to talk about and dedicate to the Jussie Smollett story, because I'm sure by the time this posts on Friday, there'll be 3 other plot lines that go into this, but I don't think it should be brought back on Empire, and I definitely don't think he should work in Hollywood anymore. This has to be, people need to be held accountable for the stupid, irresponsible things that they do. They just need to be. So that happened in place of what I was originally going to talk about. We found out last week on a Friday afternoon info dump, which usually doesn't end well when this happens, when something like this, something to this magnitude, is released at 5 p.m. on a Friday, it's not going to be what you hoped for. It's just the simple fact of the matter. It's the Mueller Report. We all know by now that there is no collusion for Trump. Attorney General William Barr said that it doesn't completely exonerate Donald Trump, but it said there's no collusion. That's what Mueller concluded. I might shock you with my reaction to this. I'm okay with it, because that's a good thing that there's no collusion. People hate Trump and they lose sight of the importance of this report that, quite honestly, I thought was flimsy to begin with, but people were so focused and so ready to believe that Trump was colluding with the Russians and that the 2016 election was a sham. I mean, it was, but not because of this, but it was a sham to begin with, because it was disgusting, and it will be a black eye in our history. But people were just so ready to accept this because they hate Trump so much. They wanted this to be collusion. They wanted this Mueller report to bring the hammer down and change the course of our history. It has, but maybe not in a great way. People need to step back and think, wait, this is a good thing that our president really isn't as bad as we thought he was. He's still pretty bad, but he's not a Russian agent. So that is a good thing. And this is coming from a guy who, as you know on this show, has made it very clear how little I think of the president. This is a good sign. Hey, he didn't collude with Russia. So now we can focus on what's important. If you are a Democrat running for president, this cannot be your narrative anymore. Move on. Because all this is going to do is embolden Trump supporters and make his case for 2020 that much stronger. So what you need to do is veer away from it and try and focus on your policy and what's going to work for you. That's what I've also taken away from the Mueller report. But the big thing that I took from the Mueller report, and in the grand scheme of today's topic, I am burnt out on politics. The last few episodes of this show, if you've noticed, have not dealt with politics. I mean, you could argue that the episode that was up last week, the great, I really like that episode that I did with Gomez. The anti-vaxxer thing, I don't think is as political as people make it out to be, and it was more of, I was actually surprised at how nice I came off. I used to be very angry at anti-vaxxers and very combative with them, and I think it was more of an olive branch to them to say, hey, look, they're not as bad as people may think. You should vaccinate your kids and yourself. What I realized, episode 26 was the last time I did anything political. What I realized after that episode, listening back to it, and realizing how full of hate and anger I was. And I felt like it wasn't misplaced. I think it was rightfully so that I was very angry. But what I learned from that, and what I took from that, I'm burnt out on this stuff. And I love what I do. I love doing this show, and I love, the things, my job. I am surrounded by politics. I've reached critical mass. I've hit the edge. I think the Mueller Report, 2 years of that nonsense and 2 years of that, I think, encapsulated everything that's wrong with our politics during the Trump presidency. That is the moment where I was like, you know what? Okay, so it's come out. You didn't collude with Russia. Fine, great. Now can we focus on something other than this? No, we can't, because it's fresh in our minds. It's still news. So now you have people going on talking about, we'll release the whole report, which I think you should. Because if there's no collusion with Russia, I know it says it doesn't fully exonerate Trump, but release the whole thing. If he's so innocent, release it. But you have people saying that. You have people, people that supported Trump are, very happy about this and all these other things. I just thought, well, why can't we move the narrative somewhere else? Why do we have to focus on this? And I understand why. It's been 2 years of our lives have been this report and this whole investigation. But that was where I really realized something. I was just like, I don't want to talk about politics anymore. I have hit critical mass, as I said earlier. I just don't want to do it. And you know what? That's okay. I think the Mueller Report was the moment where I had the aha moment, because I was already getting there after the NOCO Summit episode. I was already getting there. And the Mueller Report really reassured me that this is just where I am now. I'm not talking about politics other than this episode, obviously, because I have to explain this to you. I am not talking about politics for a while. I'm not completely saying I'm done talking about it, because I've had those bouts with, well, I'm not going to talk about this or do this thing. And then I end up doing it anyway, because at the end of the day, I enjoy talking about this stuff from time to time. But I think it's important when you talk about this stuff to take breaks, because if you surround yourself with politics every single day and you talk about, and you're just in that world a lot, it breaks you down. You come to a point where you don't want to, you're very upset, you're very angry, and there's so much rage and hate on the internet, and I don't think all of it is misplaced. I think at times you need to be angry and you need to do these things. I always quote American Gods, the great show. I always quote it when it says, angry people get shit done. I do believe that, but I've come to a point where I realized there are enough angry people on radio and TV and the internet that talk about politics and are angry and this, that, or the other thing. I don't need to dedicate episodes or time of this show or anything else that I do on this stuff, because there are plenty of people out there that bash Trump or support Trump, or, any way you slice it. There are enough people out there that do that, so I don't need to do it. And I don't want... The whole point of this show, and it's not because I'm scared of losing listeners or people, fight back about this stuff. I don't care. I don't care anymore. Mostly because I created a brand called Loud and Opinionated for a reason. It is a way for me to just be very obnoxious if I need to be, but get my point out there. But I've realized I've had more fun doing this show where I talk about things that I'm passionate about, things that I love, and I'm chatting with friends when I have guests on occasionally. The whole point of this show is to, take the saw blade, cut off the top of my head, and peek inside my brain for 30 to 40 minutes a week and realize who I am and understand who I am. I know I got a little weird with the metaphor there, but I like to paint a picture. I mean, hell, I've kind of made this show so it is a bite-size representation of my mind. So if you are on a lunch break, you could listen to this whole show and get exactly how I feel about what's going on in the news or whatever. That is the whole idea of the show, and I'm just burnt out on politics. I don't want to talk about politics anymore, and I don't have to. It's as simple as that. I had more fun in the last 3 episodes talking about Captain Marvel and Watchmen and anti-vaxxers and all that stuff. I had more fun doing that than I've had with any of the political episodes I've done. My heart just isn't in it right now. And I'm not saying it's not going to happen, that I'm not going to talk about politics again. Something big could happen, and I have to talk about it. But I have the next month or so planned out for the show, and politics aren't anywhere near it. For good reason. I am tired of being this negative force. I don't want to be a negative person. I don't want to be an angry person because, really I'm not. I might get upset about things here and there, but I am not an angry person overall. And people that have hung out with me or people that know me know this. And I want this show to reflect that. I don't want to be another angry, ranting, political guy. I understand why people listen to it and people like it. It's entertaining. I totally understand that. But that's not me anymore. That's just not who I am. I'm going to have a lot more fun talking about, some of these episodes that I've got in the works are going to be awesome, and I cannot wait to share them with you. And that is what excites me. That is what I hope people like about this show. I am going in a direction where I don't need to talk about Trump because, quite frankly, I'm sick of Trump. I know I have 2 more years of it, but I just don't care anymore. I should rephrase that. I do care, but I don't want to talk about it or dedicate my brain more than I have to with this episode because I just it sucks, man. If you really flip on the news and pay attention and then write out how you, not necessarily write out because this show isn't scripted, but create an outline and show prep, it's exhausting. And I just don't want to do it. Now, that being said, when election season starts heating up, I will probably talk about it. I'll have Paul from the Loud Sports Podcast. Him and I talk about politics a lot. I'll probably have him on this show and we'll talk about it. And we will and I have a plan in the summer to do a series of episodes where I'm talking to people from different political backgrounds and different political identities and have those conversations. Those will be good, and I will enjoy them because they're not going to be shouting matches. They're not going to be debates. They're just going to be conversations. And we don't have enough conversations in politics. And I know it's very hard to do when I'm just talking to you myself. But because we don't have that environment, I don't want to be a part of it. I don't want to drive home. I don't want to belabor a point, but that's just where I'm at. And I hope people understand that I'm not scared of talking about politics or I'm scared of what people may think of me. I'm not at all. It sucks, man. I hate to sound like a broken record, but that's just at the end of the day, that's what it is. It's fucking depressing. Trying not to swear as much, but that shit didn't work. It's depressing. And I'm more interested in opening up my mind and my heart to different things and experiencing different things, and at the same time talking about things I love. I want to do more of episodes like I did for Watchmen, the in defense of things. I want to do more of those. I want to do more things like the Captain Marvel episode. I want to talk about, video games outside of what I would with underachievers, or certain things maybe in sports that I might not get to touch on in Loud Sports and things like that. I'm not saying the show is changing because I've done that enough. That is not the case. I am just saying for the time being, political episodes are going to be put on the back burner. And if you're somebody that actually likes those political episodes, I'm sorry. I just think for my own mental health and physical health, because I when I get into those modes when I talk about politics, it feels like I might pop a blood vessel or, hurt myself by pounding on the desk so much. For that sake, I have to take a break from it. My only hope is that if you did like those political things, maybe you like some different aspects of my personality. I am a weird guy, and I obsess about things that other people don't think to obsess about. And I think you're going to find that, hey, maybe we're not so different. Maybe we'll like each other. And this is never, the Jake Williams show has never been, or Loud Opinionated as a whole, has never been something that's not inclusive. I want everybody to enjoy this. Conservative, liberal, gay, straight, black, white, whatever. I want people to feel welcome. And I feel like it doesn't come off that way when I talk about politics. Some people might really enjoy it because they hate Trump, but I've just hit a point where it's just not for me anymore. And I know I've spent 20-something minutes trying to convince you that it's okay. I hope you understand. It is okay. We're going to be fine. But yeah, that's really all I wanted to talk about with you guys this week, that political burnout is real. And if you are somebody like me and you don't even have a podcast or you don't, broadcast or do anything like that, if you're someone that just is a regular person, even though I'm regular too, but let's be honest, regular people aren't as vain as I am. If you don't do this stuff that I do and you still get surrounded by politics, stop and think maybe, hey, I need to unplug for a little bit. It's okay. What I usually do, I play video games. Been sinking way too much time in Assassin's Creed Odyssey. Man, that game is a lot of fun, but my God, is it big. I had a moment where I really felt like, everybody jokes that I'm this cranky old man that yells, people get off my lawn kind of thing. That's when it really hit me when I was playing that game, because I open up, I mean, even the intro is ridiculously long, but I open up the map and I saw how big it was, and I'm like, oh boy, I don't know how much time I'm going to have to play this thing. It's massive, but it keeps me away from politics, so I like it. There's plenty of people on YouTube and podcasting that do this that are entertaining. I mean, just some that I listen to. Kyle Kalinski's great. I like the Majority Report with Sam Cedar. That's great. Those are the two big ones. But there's a lot of other guys out there that do a much, much better job than I do. Much more research, much more... I don't want to say I'm more... they're a lot more logical than I am. I play a little bit more to my emotions with politics. They're a little bit more logical. And they're entertaining. They're worth your time. Go to them for your political commentary. Come to me for just weird shit. Stuff that I'm into. All right? Everybody happy? I feel good. I feel like this was nice therapy for me to get this out to you. And I hope you're happy. I want to know, do you have political... Let me know in the comments. Feel free to tweet at Loud Opinion... Good Lord. Tweet at Loud Opinionated on Twitter. Feel free to reach out there. Do you know what I'm talking about? Do you have political burnout? And if so, what are you using to remedy it? Like I said, I'm using video games. I've been watching more movies. as you know, recently I just watched The Dirt on Netflix. That's up on loudandopinionated.com. That was actually going to be an option for an episode this week, was to talk about rock biopics and how I'm sick of them, even though I still want to see Rocket Man, because I think that's going to be a different approach because it's set up fantasy, so it's not going to be completely based in fact, and they're going to have a little bit more fun with it. I probably will be let down, though. It's probably going to follow the same formula as Bohemian Rhapsody and The Dirt, although Bohemian Rhapsody is a better movie than The Dirt, but they're both just check the boxes. No, nothing new, nothing exciting about them. There's just a lot of nudity and drugs in The Dirt. No nudity in Bohemian Rhapsody. That's not taken away from Rami Malek either. Malek, though, he did a phenomenal job as Freddie Mercury. Can't really say the same about the people in The Dirt. All right, I'm rambling. Thank you so much for listening to another episode of the Jake Williams Show. Good Lord, let's try that again. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Jake Williams Show. You can get this show right here on loudandopinionated.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on social. Good Lord. It's been a long day for recording. Follow us on social media. Twitter at Loud Opinionated. Loud and Opinionated on Facebook. Give us a like there. And you can also follow us on Instagram, Loud and Opinionated brand. It's exciting times. Of course, you can listen to the other shows on Loud and Opinionated. Loud Sports, the sports podcast to do with Brandon Plecker and Paul Rubidoux, and The Underachievers, which I do with John Sparks and Chance Oliver. Give those a listen, please. Like and subscribe there wherever you get your podcast. Those also help us out. And again, take some time, reflect. If you're one of those people that reacts too quickly to stories and politics and things of that nature, sit back, relax, think, because social media is really fucked with our heads and how we interact with each other in society, and we gotta get that back. The civility, the rational thinking, logic. We gotta get that stuff back. Still be emotional, still be angry, occasionally. It's fine. It's normal. It's human. But sometimes just take some time away. Read a book. Watch a movie. Get away from that stuff. But most importantly, above everything else that I've said today, be loud and be proud.